Okay, it's started to record. Okay, nice. So again, thank you everyone for your time, and let's start off with the session. So if you haven't used Power BI earlier, right? Power BI is a BI tool. Now, what is a BI tool? Mostly every organization will have the data in certain different set, right? So someone will keep in some kind of server, someone in different kind of server. And I'm not going into those kind of technicalities out there, but at the end, what you need to do with the data, you need to analyze those data and find some meaningful insight, right? So one thing I need to be very specific about it over here. So when you see some tutorials, right, or when someone is training you, you do one mistake, right? You only try to focus on understanding the visual portion of this. Now, the role of BI is not just about building your visuals. Power BI is way above than that, right? It's just not about building the visuals. So what is the one important thing that you need to focus on, right? The most important thing you need to understand is building the logics, right? So if I give you a data set today, right, if I'm giving you a fresh data set today, what you can do from there, how many set of questions you can get from there. And that's how the interview process go nowadays, right? If you're trying to switch your career into Power BI developer or into analytics, what it will be done, you will be given a sample data set and you will be given some set of questions, and they will ask you to solve these questions in Power BI, and what extra you can provide them with that data, right? So that's how the interview process goes. I have been working in this industry for almost 9 years now, and this is one common mistake that every guys do, that okay, they just learn for 1 month and they think that okay, they are prepared. It doesn't work like that. You have to really build your logic. You need to understand what kind of questions you need to ask. So focus on that one thing in the long term. For the session, if I have not shared my screen, let me share my screen also. So for the session, we will be using a Superstore data. Now, if you have used Tableau earlier, you know this Superstore data is the very commonly used data. Now, why this is very common? Because this data gives you like a very wide range of explanations and things that you can do with this. So we'll be using this, and let's go on to the Power BI now. Now, if you haven't downloaded the Power BI, people who are using this for the first time, you can look for download Power BI desktop. I request everyone to please go on mute. Yeah, please.
Sorry to interrupt, Amit. Can we record the session, please?
Yes, this is getting recorded.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah. Okay, so for the people who haven't downloaded the Power BI version, so you can just look for download Power BI desktop, and from the first link that you are getting, you can go to the download section and download the Power BI desktop. Just you have to come to this download option in the first link and download it. And after that, you have to just install it. You don't have to do anything else. Just install and launch the application. So you can just come to the start after it has been installed and look for Power BI desktop. So this Power BI desktop, I have like two versions. One is directly downloaded from this one, and one at an organization level, which is more secured. So I will be using the one that I have downloaded, and which is the most recent one. So this is how it looks when you open up the Power BI dashboard, Power BI, this one. Now, just a quick note, if you don't know this, right? So Power BI, it did not started as a product or as a BI tool earlier. So if you have worked on advanced Excel, you know there are 3 add-ins that were available. One is Power Query, one was Power View, and one was Power Pivot, right? Now, all of these 3 things have different requirements, right? So Power Query was used to do ETL work, right? ETL is basically, in the technical terms, it's known as extract, transform, and load. So you are extracting your information, your data from some place, and then you are transforming the data and then loading the data. Now, in the previous times, right, like 5 years back, or even currently, we do this mostly with the help of MSBI tools, Microsoft BI tools, we call it, right? And that includes SSIS, SSRS, and SSAS. Now, with Power Query, it gave that feature that, okay, you can perform all these tasks with one single window, right? So we'll come to that Power Query, how to do that and all those stuff. So Power Query was used for data transformation. Power Pivot was used for data modeling. Now, data modeling was like, let's say, when you're working with a large scale organization, you have multiple sources of data, right? For an example, if you are working in an organization, you will have some data related to accounts, finance, marketing, sales, and all of these data needs to converge at some place, right? So to build this model, you have to use the data model. And for that, in Excel, we used to have Power Pivot add-ins. And then we had Power View. So Power View was used to create next level of graphs, right? Apart from the basic graphs that we used to do. So all these three things were combined together into a product which was launched as Microsoft Power BI. Even now today, all these three add-ins are available inside Excel. So if you're also looking to learn advanced Excel, if you learn Power BI, this will cover up the entire advanced Excel section for you. Now, this Power BI runs on something called Vertipack engine, right? Not going into the technicalities, you can just understand that fact, right? Every time you load this data, the data gets compressed to almost 1/10 or 1/5 of a size, 1/5 to 1/10 of the size, depending on the quality of the data that we have out there. But mostly, let's say if you're uploading 100 MB of data, the file size of the Power BI report that you will create becomes almost 5 to 6 MB. So that's it. So it compresses the data. Vertipack engine helps in that one. Okay, so this is the Power BI window. When you open up, it looks like this. In the left-hand side, we have 3 panes, and these 3 panes does exactly the same thing about the add-ins that I mentioned, right? So this is the report view. In this report view, we build all the visuals, right? We build all the dashboard. The next one shows you the data view. So every time you are editing some data or you are adding certain things inside the data, you can look up those information over here once we add in. The next is the model view. In this model view, we can create relationship between the different tables that is being loaded. So if you look into the diagram, you can recognize this thing. Now, just a quick tip. Every time when you are loading this data or any data inside the Power BI, it gets loaded into the form of table. So I assume every one of you have worked with Excel at least. Now in Excel, when we are having this sheets, right? So every time when we are loading this Excel, all of this sheet will get loaded in Power BI as a table, right? So all of this data stored in the form of table, and like in Excel, we use the term sheet, we will be using more of the table word while working with the Power BI. So let's go ahead and like connect to this data first and see what we can do from here. Okay. So once we open this up, right, the first thing that we have is get data information, right? Let's click on this get data. These are some of the common data sets that we have. Excel, Power BI data sets, Power BI data flows, Dataverse. This is something that has come new. SQL Server is there, analysis services is there, but and like there are more. So if I just click on more out here, you will see there are almost 200 connections out there, right? 200 different types of connections you can use. You can even connect with your Facebook account and like find a trend. Okay, which friend is continuously reacting to your post or not, right? So you can do that depth of analysis out here. You can see there are like so many different connection mechanisms that we have. But out of this entire thing, mostly in all the organization, we connect with Excel, we connect with a folder. I will explain how we can utilize this folder information. Then we have SQL and Oracle database. So most of the time we connect with different kind of database, and then Excel is the important thing. So let's connect with Excel here. Okay, before I connect, right, I have this very bad habit actually of going to this get, forget that, okay, this thing is always in front. You please mute yourself who is on unmute. Okay, so I make this like a very bad habit of going to this get data, because earlier in the earlier version, we did not have this feature wherein when I open up, this is coming up in the front, right? So now we have this common data sources available in front of us. So we can directly click from here, import data from Excel. I will use this option. And here, this is the data set that I'm trying to connect. So actually I have already connected to this. So that's why it is navigating me to that path over there. We'll connect this Superstore out here. Let me just connect. Just a second, I'm getting one call. Sorry guys, I need to pick up the phones because doesn't know it's COVID time and anything can be a little urgent and emergency. Anyway, so we connected to the data set out here. And if you observe, right, we are getting the sheets information that is available. So orders return sheet these are the sheets that is available in the Excel, right? Now, out of them, like only 3 things are important to us: orders, returns, and user. Now, this data set is basically a Superstore data. So there is a store and it is recording all the transactions that is happening inside the store. And in the transaction, it is keeping in detail on like what is the name of the customer, where is he from, what is he ordering, what is the sales value, date ordered, when the product ship, and all those details, right? What you can expect from a Superstore. So there are 5 sheets. Now, out of this, I don't need the entire thing. So what I will do, I will only select the required one: orders, returns, and users, the one which is important for me. Once I do that, I have 2 other options coming up: load and transform data. Right now, there isn't much difference between load and transform data. It's just about one step. So if I click on load, right, this data gets directly loaded onto the memory. Right. If I click on transform data, this one, then it opens up the Power Query editor. Now, when I'm working on this dashboard or when I'm working with any report, right, if I see that, okay, I need to clean up my data, right, if I need to do some cleaning activities, I will directly go to the transform data. Else I will just click on the load because I know my data is already clean out here. So for the example, I will just click on load at this point of time. Let me just load this information. Power BI is easy to learn, but if you want to be really good with that, then you have to keep on practicing this, and at least you have to give 6 to 8 months of practice. Then only you would be able to master this, because there are a lot of things behind the scenes that we does not know about Power BI, right? It's not about the front end only. You have to also learn on the background how everything is happening. Cool. The data is loaded now, right? So in the field section, if you see in the right hand side, we have these tables loaded, right? So this orders, returns, and the users table is loaded. And when we load this data, right, this comes up in the form of alphabetical, right? It's an alphabetical order: orders, returns, and users. So if I just expand this, you can see the contents of the data available inside that over there. So this is the field section where your data will be stored. This is the place you will have the visualization, and here you will be applying all your filters that you need to put on. Cool. So let's go and look into the data. Okay, before we go and even look into the data, let's understand about connecting with the different folder, right? Now, why I mention folder? Because let's say you are working on any particular type of data where you have data coming up on each week, right? Now, after, let's say, a month or 2 months, you want to consolidate all those information, or you want to keep a stack of all the data that is available on a weekly basis, right? So in that case, if I connect to one Excel, it will not help me. right? So what I need to do, I need to connect to a particular folder wherein my data is stored, and at that end we will consolidate all the information. So basically, if you look into this example, this is 5 weeks of data that I have available, right? And I want to consolidate all these information. And also, like when I'm putting up week 6, week 7, week 8, it should automatically pick up the information from this folder and build the report on top of that. So for that, what we need to do, now we need to go to this get data option and click on more. And then from the more, we will have the folder option coming up. So wait for that. Okay, so you see there is this folder option coming up. So we'll select this folder option and click on connect. Here we need to specify the folder path. So I will just go to the browse section and connect to the respective folder that we have, right? So where is that? Okay, it's in the Power BI, and okay, this is the folder where I have the data, and I will click on OK. Let's just wait for a couple of minutes. Sometime it just take a little while to connect to the data, but it won't take much long in this. Okay, so now again here, when I'm connecting to a folder, you see there are 3 options coming up: combine, load, and transform data. But as a best practice for this one, I always suggest don't click on combine or load, always click on the transform data over here. I will explain you why. So we'll click on the transform data. And once we click on that transform data, it opens up this Power Query editor. Now, if you have already used this, you know, like this gives you all the feature of ETL, right? You can extract and transform and do all those stuff out here. Inside this, right, inside this Power Query editor, once we have connected to a folder, you see this is giving me all the metadata information of the files available, the name, the extension name, date accessed, and all those things. So I don't need to do anything with this thing, right? I only need the data that is available in each of those files, right? And just as a tip, if you are trying to connect to one particular folder, right, so always keep the files in one single shape. That means it should have equal number of rows and columns and equal number of sheets. That is a best practice. If you if one of the sheet is having 2 pages, in another sheet it is having 3 pages, it might come up with some kind of error. So always try to keep that pages in a single shape. So now, as there is metadata, I don't need this information, right? I only need the content that is available onto those files. So what I will do, I will right click on the main column. So this content column is the one which is holding the data. And if I just place my cursor, you see there is this underline, and anything which is having an underline, that means there is something connected to it, right? In the technical terms. So this one is holding my data, and I will remove all the other things. So how to do that? We will right click on this, and then we will select the remove other columns option. So I will remove all the other columns. And once I did that, right, I can just click on this option, combine files. And it will combine all the data that is there inside that particular folder, and it will bring up to me. Let's just wait for that to be connected. Now, the good thing about this, right, is like we only keep this as a dashboard or a reporting tool, but it is kind of an automation tool, because you are doing this activity once, and once your template is set for everything, you're not doing anything for the next time, right? So basically you're trying to automate that entire stuff. Okay, when we are trying to combine file, it is again giving me the sheet. orders, returns, and users. Now, as I mentioned, right, keep everything in one single shape. Otherwise, right, it comes up with problem, because in some Excel it will try to find 2 sheet, in some Excel it will try to find 3 sheet, and it will not match properly. So that's why it should be in a proper shape. Here, unlike in the previous like first time when we tried connecting with Excel, we were able to select the options, right? Select the sheet which we want to connect. In this, we can only connect with one particular sheet at one time. We can only combine one sheet. So I will select the orders, which is our important and the main sheet, and I will click on OK. Okay, and guys, if you have any questions in between when I'm explaining, you can always put up in the chat box. So I will keep looking into that chat box in between. Okay. Nice. So the data has been loaded up now. This is the data, multiple data is the name of the folder that we had, right? And this is currently being loaded now. Now, in the right hand, let me just take one question so we can merge more Excel file. Yes, you can definitely merge all the Excel file. You can definitely merge that. See, when you are trying to connect individual files, you can always do that. When you are trying to merge through all the files in one folder, then it should be in a single shape. But when you are trying to connect to different Excel files, you can always come to this new source, again connect to that Excel and redo the same step that we are doing. So in that way, you can connect to multiple Excel files. Okay, so now we are into this CPU kind of thing, like which I call it like a brain of any dashboard, because all of the things that you will be doing over here has an impact out there in the dashboard inside this Power Query editor. In the right hand side, right, this applied steps, this is the most key thing that you have over here. So each and every steps that we are performing is getting recorded in the right hand side out here in the applied steps. So even though if you just change one particular spelling, right, it will come up out here in the right hand side in the applied step. And what does it do? It keeps that thing, the actions that you're performing in memory, so that next time you don't have to do anything. For an example, if I have just connected right to this folder, if tomorrow I have from week 5, I have a data for week 6, I don't have to do anything apart from a refresh. So my data is there. What I need to do, I just need to click on this refresh button. That's it. And once I click this refresh, because of the steps that has been involved, Power BI know what actions needs to be done. It will just bring up the data and combine it over here. So that's it. Now let me change this name. So when we are loading this data, you can always come and change this information from here in the right hand side. The name is showing up multiple data. Let me change this to combined. Okay. Check the chat box. If every file has multiple sheet, then mode to merge. Yeah, if every file is having multiple sheet, right? If connecting to a folder, then try to keep the numbers as same, right? If you're trying to connect with different files separately, then it does not matter. You can always select while connecting to the files. Okay, in this Power Query editor, you see at the top, we have this formula bar coming up, right? This formula bar might not be enabled for some of the people. So let me just look into this, how to do this. Okay, so you can come to this view section, right? And in this view section, you have this formula bar. So with this, if I just uncheck this option, you see this formula bar gets hidden, right? So if this is hidden in your Power Query editor, you can always come into this formula bar section and unhide this option, and it will be visible to you. Okay, so we have loaded the information. Okay, just a second. Let me see what we have. Different type of. No, Rahul, SSIS and Power Query are two different things. SSIS is much way advanced than like what we can perform inside the Power Query. So even you can understand the concept, but SSIS is completely different level. So that is that works differently. What if we have a different type of file like XLM? Better try to keep one single source of file, right? At the end, you have to perform a data model if you have multiple different type of file. Generally, if you're working with any data, it is not possible that you will be having multiple type of connection, right? Mostly the reason is mostly everything is stored in a database, right? So you will be connecting to some kind of database when you work with data, or you will be connecting with Excel. So it's not possible that for one of the project you will have doc file, you will have a PDF file and all those things. You can always connect separately, and once the table is loaded, like this orders and returns table are loaded, right? Even though you connect in with anything, let's say if you're connecting with PDF, it will still be loaded as in the form of table. Once it is loaded, you can then merge and combine those tables over here. So that way you can do all that. Okay. So we have loaded the data. Now, what is the next step that we need to look, right? So the first thing that you should look for is what is the different data type, right? Data type is the one thing that you should always focus on. Now in this data, right, it shows that we have 26 columns available, right? This is 26 columns. Now imagine a scenario where you don't have a 26, you have 260 columns, right? And data type is this one, which is showing up in the left hand corner for each column, right? So how do you understand, right? How do you understand which is the important and how many columns you can navigate and see, right? The data type. And I will explain you why you should look at the data type and what is the important thing. Let's say we have the sales column, right? Now the sales column is showing that, okay, this is having a data type of numeric. This 1.2 is a decimal number, right? So this is correct. I can do calculations on this. But let's say if I just convert, and if you observe this number 13.016362.85211, right? This numbers is this one. Just keep a track of that. I change this to text. I will just use the replace current out here. Now, if I change this to a text format, you see the numbers look exactly same, right? So if you have been given a data set, will you be able to perform any calculations on that? No, because if your sales column is in a text field, you won't be able to do any calculations on that. It will throw up an error, right? So whenever you get the data set, always try to look for the data type for certain type of columns, which is revenue columns and date columns, right? And if there is any other unique IDs, right? Let's say in our data, we have something called order ID. Now this order ID is showing up in the form of numeric, correct? It's in the numeric, but most of the time here, actually, if you look at the bottom, it says column profiling based on top 1000 rows. So it looks at the top 1000 rows and then decide what is the data type available. But the order IDs and everything, right? It comes up like this. So order ID can be something like this, ABC123 CG, right? So this is an alphanumeric, but there can be a scenario that in one out of the top 1000 rows, right? It is just numeric in nature. It is just numeric in nature. It can be like that. So you should always observe that properly and make the necessary changes. So your revenue columns, any column which is having unique values, and the date columns are the things where you should always observe the data type. Now coming to this order ID, I explained, right? This should be an alphanumeric. With an example, it should be alphanumeric in nature. But how do I convert this into an alphanumeric? If I just click on this, you will not find anything alphanumeric, right? There is no alphanumeric information out here. So how do you convert this number into alphanumeric easy way, right? So if you just expand this formula bar, right? This looks very complicated, but if you read it once, it becomes very easy. So it is mentioned like the name of the column and what is the data type as attached with that. That's it, right? So what we need to do, we need to come to this order ID and we need to type certain thing which is called type any. This is the keyword that we have to specify, type any. And once we write this type is equal to any, and if I execute this, you see this has become into an alphanumeric. I can always go back and convert this into a whole number, but if I want to go back and change this, you don't find that alphanumerical option out here. So if you have to convert this into an alphanumeric, you can go ahead with that. So first thing, right, as I mentioned, load the data and then next check the data type. Data type is like selected on the basis of top 1000 rows. Another interesting thing, if you haven't observed yet, is like this green color line that is showing up over here, right? So this green color line will specify how is your data, right? So how is your data means, is your data clean or is there any error? There are blank values in this. So if there is any blank value in one particular line, it will show up a gray color and the red color if there is any error. Let me see if there is any error or anything in column. I don't think so. It will be there, but yeah, it's not, but it will show up in a gray color if there is any error coming up over that line. Cool. Now, once we are done with the understanding of the data type and everything, next step is the data transformation, right? So can you just take a pause and let me know if you have used Excel or like if you are not using Excel, you're just trying to learn it even, what kind of data transformations or what kind of cleaning activity you do with Excel. Can you just put up in the chat box? I just want to understand that. Every week is there any way to upload? Gaurav, the question is, if we are using same format data, having same count of columns every week, you can do this manual upload, right? But if the dependency is through your desktop, then it becomes a little difficult. There is something called task scheduler. So I'm not sure if Microsoft task scheduler and Microsoft Power BI is synced with each other, but you can use something called Power Automate. Now, Power Automate is kind of an RPA tool developed by Microsoft. So with that help of Power Automate, you can perform that step. If your data is in SQL or any other database which is hosted, right, you can connect it directly to Power BI and that can be auto refreshed. You can set up that thing. Exactly. So split the column, conditional formatting. Exactly. So these are the things that you perform in Excel. Same way you can perform those things inside the Power Query editor. So someone mentioned about the splitting of the data. So let's take up some scenario and then understand those things. We have a customer name, right? We have a customer name. So generally there are two kinds of things that you will do. So you might have a customer name and a first name and the last name in two different columns and you try to merge them. Here we will try to separate them, right? So just a quick tip, before you try to do any kind of column related activities, right? Deleting or adding up any column, always keep a duplicate column of that so that you do not lose the original data that you have. So I will right click on this customer name and I will create a duplicate column of this. Now my intention is over here to segregate the first name and the last name. Let's see how we can do this. So I will right click on this column and we have the split column option. So there are a lot of options out here. So I'm not going through all of them because honestly speaking, with experience, or like I think 60% of them are not used like anytime. There are only few of the things that you will be using from here. So I'll right click on this and then we will use the split column. And in the split column, we have this by delimiter option. So I will select the by delimiter. Now delimiter is something like any kind of special character you can understand. It can be a space, like comma, semi-comma, colon, any those kind of thing is known as a delimiter, where it is limiting the space. So I will use the space. So currently in this data, we have the space as a delimiter, and use this option according to your data that you have. So it is mentioned split at leftmost, rightmost, or each occurrence. So I will use each occurrence because in some of the names I have this three, like first name, middle name, and the last name. So I will use this each occurrence of the delimiter and click on OK. Now, as I do this, you see there are two things happen. One is like my data got segregated into 3 different columns. Also, there is this step that has been added. So as I mentioned earlier, right, every time we perform any activity, it records that over here, right? So I will just rename this first name. I will double click on this mid name and last name. Okay. Now, if you would have observed, there is a problem with this split that we did, right? Now, what is this problem? As some people had 3 names, right? First name, mid name, and the last name. Some people had middle name also. So in the mid name section, some people also had the last name, right? So this is a mistake that is happening, right? This last name, this Potter should be here in place of null. This F, we don't need it because we only need the first name and last name. So how do we fix this, right? What is the way we can fix this issue that we have? So for that, we can come to this add column section, and we can use this conditional column option. In Excel, we have to write if formulas, right? Here, we can either write if formula, or we already have a built-in function that is provided to us in the form of conditional column, right? So this conditional column, what we'll do, we'll keep it as a name as something called final last name, which not sound correct, but I will just keep it as final last name. Okay. Now what I need to do, and this is the place where I like explained you in the guys, please can you go on mute if you are on unmute? Yeah, thank you so much. So what we have to do, we have to use our logic here on how we can bring this thing that is available in the middle into the last name. So we will be using this conditional column option, right? In this conditional column, what we need to do, I need to say that, okay, wherever you see this null, right? My logic will be wherever this null is there, just replace this null with the thing that is available in the mid name. That's it. So we'll write this formula that, okay, if my column name, the column name is the last one that we segregated, that is the last name. If my last name is equaling to null, right, then what you need to do, you need to replace that with the thing that is available in the mid name section. Read the formula once again, what it is coming up. If my last name is equaling to null, right? So if my last name is equaling to null, then change that output to mid name. So replace the data with the mid name out here. Else, it is correct, right? Else, if I don't need to do anything out here, so else I will just keep the last name information only, last name, and I will execute on this. So now I had this new column, and in this new column, I have this last name properly configured. So this Tyson is there in place of Tyson, and in place of null, I have this Potter. So I will just convert the data type for this to the text, right? And I will delete this mid name and the last name because I don't need this. So I will delete this. Where is remove columns? Yeah. So for now we have the first name and the last name that we can use. Let me just check. Sure. Let me complete this section. I will again explain this one. So what we did actually, we first split the, we duplicated the customer name information, right? We duplicated that information. And once we duplicated, we splitted we used the option of split, right? And split by delimiter. And then we split the data using this each occurrence of the delimiter into two sections, first name and the last name. No, actually, it's not first name and last name. Now, if you have like a record, if the steps are getting recorded, there is one good thing. You can always go back into the previous step and see how the data was there earlier, right? So if I click on the previous two steps back, it shows me that, okay, I had first name, mid name, and the last name like this, right? So what I did, I had the data like this, first name, mid name, last name. And then my condition was I need to move this middle name into the last name sections. I need to move this into the last name. So there I created a conditional column. I come to this add column section and I created this conditional column. So I added this conditional column out here. Let me just open up this conditional column. And I added a condition that, okay, if my last name is equaling null, right? If my last name is equaling null, then replace that with the middle name. So if my last name is equaling to null, then replace this null with the option that is available here. If it is not null, then just keep whatever is earlier there, last name, right? So that's how we built this conditional column. And once we did this, we got the result. We removed the middle name and the last name columns. Now, for all these activities, right, when I'm training, I'm like creating so many steps, right? I'm adding more and more number of steps. But when you are working on the project real time, right, so your goal should always be to keep the steps as low as possible. Now, why to do that? Because the more number of steps that you will have, it will take more time to refresh the table. So that's the problem many people have when you're trying to refresh the data. It takes 1 minute, 2 minutes, right? And it keeps on loading, and at the end, it throws up an error. The reason is because there are so many steps involved, because it has to go through and do that loop and then find those information and do that, right? And because of that, it takes time. So try to keep the applied step here as low as possible. Cool. So we understood on the split information. Okay, let's come to this users table. Generally, whenever we load any data, we always have the header information, right, properly. So if you look into the data, you can easily understand that region and manager is the thing that should be in the header section and not over here, right? So what we need to do, we need to move this region and manager to the top section out here, correct? So we'll click on this to move this, right? What we can do, we can click on this corner and use first row as headers. If I do that, you see this region and manager has moved to the first line, and now my data is properly aligned. Now, some of the people, when you are working, when you get the data, there can be a possibility that your data is also having some blank at the top, like this. Or like this, your data is looking like this, right? So you have some certain blank. Just delete this. Yeah, so you have a blank and a data like this. So in that scenario, what you need to do, you can always right click, and there is an option of remove top rows and remove bottom rows. So you can remove the top one row, right? If I do this, like, it will be deleted, so that's why I'm not doing. But in your data, you can use this number of rows to be deleted, and it will remove the top one rows. Maybe I did this wrong. It should be like this. So your top row is blank. So if you use this remove number of rows 1, it will remove this row first, and once it is done, then you come and do the step of use first row as header. It will promote that thing at the top. Okay, let us look at the next thing. We have remove other column. Okay, is it possible to any row in between the data? It is possible, but it is more complicated in nature. You should not be doing that in the Power Query. So once you have loaded the data, you can do that. You can exclude the data. So let's say you can come to any filter. For an example, we have this order priority, right? So I have this entire data loaded. Now I don't want this critical thing, right? The column where this critical line is present, I don't want to load this data. So what I can do, I can just select or unselect this critical, click on OK. And now when I load this data back onto the Power BI memory, right, then the data will be without that critical thing. So it will be without that. Okay, so it will be like that. So you can do that approach. Yes, yes, you can do that. So you can do that. So we'll come to that on how we can replace over here. So let me just remove the filter. Yes, no, in individual row, it is not possible. Let's say if you want to remove this entire row without some condition, you cannot do that. You have to delete it from the data. We cannot directly do it from the Power Query out here. Yes, we'll come to that. We'll come to that. Okay. So, okay, these are some blank columns that has been added. Let me remove this because I was doing some transformation onto my original data. So let me remove this columns. Okay. So let me right click. The next thing we use the remove. Remove is simply removing one particular column. Then we have remove other columns. So let's say if we are having one particular table, right, and I only want to keep this section, year section, I want to remove all other thing, then we can right click and use this option, remove other column. So once I do that, it will remove all the other things that is there. Right click. Remove error is something, okay, once we have the error, then we can use this without removing, without the error, we cannot do that. Remove duplicate. Okay, remove duplicate is not very, very frequently used when we are using this like whole data. But let's say if I want to create a particular scenario wherein let's say I want to find out a unique list of customer, right? What is the list of my customers? So what I can do, I can right click on this customer name and then I can use this option of add as a new query, right? So my concern is I want to have a separate query which should automatically refresh and give me the unique list of customers, right? So what I need to do, I need to select this customer name, right click on this and then use this add as new query. When I do that, you see this has added up as a list over here, customer name, correct? And in this, what I can do, I can remove the duplicates. So if I select this duplicate, remove duplicate, it will remove the duplicate and give me the unique list. So it also depends on where to use which function, right? So that's how you can utilize the remove duplicate function way better. Change type is again changing that data type that we discussed earlier. Transform. Okay, transform generally we don't use it from here, right? Only thing we can use is trim function. So if we are having a text column, out here now, I'm not sure if this is getting asked in interview or not, but this is like just a simple tip. Like if you observe over here, if you are using this transform section in the numerical column, it gives you all the numerical related functions out here. If I do it in the text column, it gives me all the text related functions. So just keep in mind that, okay, sometimes we get confused, okay, why this option is not coming up in this column? Earlier it was available there. Okay. Now in this order priority column, if I'm clicking on this drop down, you see there is this two critical options showing up. Generally in the filter, it should always show as 1, but here it is showing 2, right, as critical. So why is this happening? This is happening because of some blank, that trailing blanks that we call, it comes up with the data. So how do we fix this? We can use the trim function with this. So let me go and use the trim function out here. Right now, once I use the trim function, then the data is gone. Their data is very, very clean now, right? And it is showing the critical only one time. Okay, what is next? The next is replace values, right? So let me look into one particular column. Let's say where we are, we can replace this. What is this column? Let me delete this, don't need it. Okay, so anywhere find what we can replace. Okay, this discount, right? In this column, wherever there is this zero, I want this zero to be replaced with blank, right? So I will just use, I don't want it to be showing up as a zero. I want a zero to be replaced with blank. So I will put value to find, and then I will just leave the replace with, okay, here, I think we can use null, or we cannot do it from here. We can do it in the DAX functions. This is not an example. Let me use in the text function. Okay. Value to find, I want to convert this value instead of high, critical, not specified. What I want to do, I want to specify that with any given set of number, right? So high, I want to replace this with 1. As the priority is very high, I will replace this with the 1. So I'll just put 1 over there, and all the high is getting replaced with 1 out here. So in the same way, you can replace the other things. Mostly we use the replace function when we get a lot of null. So if you want to replace those nulls with any blank or NA or any certain set of word, you can use the replace functions out in that. Let me look into the next functions. We have a replace error, split column. We look in group function. Group by is like a very underutilized function. It is not very frequently used. The reason for this not being used, because it completely changes the orientation of your data, right? Now let me show you an example of what group does. So if I right click on this and use this group by option, right, it is asking me specify the column to group by and desired output. So let me look into the advanced, and instead of order priority, let me put up something. Let's say product category. And what I need to do, I want to find the sum grouped by product category based on the sales value. So I will write sum, and here I will mention the sales value. Sales value. Okay, so what I need to do, I am trying to group this data as product category sum of, okay, new column name will be sum of sales, and then we are trying to do an operation of sum, and then we are using the sales column. Click on OK. Right now, if you observe, right, when I group this data, this exactly becomes in a different way. So this visual you can always achieve with the help of the measures and other thing in the visual sections of Power BI. So why we need to, or why we should be converting this data? Because we lose the entire data, right? So everything is changed to this small set. So we don't use this group information out here. Let me right click. Okay, fill section. Okay, so if in this example that I mentioned, right, if we have a blank below this, right, we can use this fill section up or down to fill the data. So if we have a blank, right, if we use the fill section, it will automatically fill up the data like this for the entire row. So we can use this fill section to do that. Let me see any other thing. Unpivot column, I'm not covering at this point of time, because if there is any data which is in pivot form, then we can unpivot. So we don't have it over here. New query, no, it's not required. Okay, now let's look at some of the scenarios that we can get inside the Power Query. Now we have a date column, right? Order date and ship date. There are 2 columns. Let's say if I want to find out the month number, let's say, or the day of the month, which day it is, or which month is it, month in terms of text, month in terms of number, we can achieve this through the Power Query editor. So let's say we have this order date and I want to extract the month number in a separate column, right? So what we can do, we can right click and first duplicate this column. I will just duplicate this column out here. And what I need to do in this transform, right, in this transform window, in the right hand side, we have this date option available. So we'll click on this date. And once I do this, right, you will see other options, year, month, quarter, and everything. So my question was, I want to find out the month, right? So if I just highlight on this month, you see there are certain options available: month, start of month, end of month, days in a month, number, name of the month, right? So if I just want to get the month in terms of number, let's say we are in May, I need the 5, right? I will use the month out here. But if I need the name of the month in form of text, I can use this name of the month option, and it will give me the result in terms of the text, which we can later utilize while we are doing some presentation. So I will just keep. Also, when if you are working with financial data, sometimes you need to find the aging, right? So let's say in my example, we have an order date and a ship date, right? And we also have a month end and month beginning. So I want to find out, right, from the month beginning till how much days has been passed currently, right? So for that, again, we can create a duplicate of this column. So I will create a duplicate of this column again. And inside this, we will go to this date section. In the month section, we have the start of month, right? So it will give me the when is this month starting, right? And I will change the name start of month. In the beginning of the month, right? From the beginning of the month till now, how much days has been passed? We can create a new column, come to this add column section, use this custom column. This custom column is not very frequently used. I'm not a big fond of this thing, but yes, sometime you can use this one. So I will write the name of the function as let's say difference in, or let's say I will write aging, and the function will be start of month, or I can select from here in the right side, start of month minus the order date. Where is this order date column? Okay. Okay. So you see, okay, the difference is coming up, but it is coming up in the form of time, right? So what we need to do, we need to convert this data type also into the form of whole number. So let me see, where is the information? Where did it go? We need to convert this into a data type. Yeah. So you see here, this data type information is there. Currently it is selected as any. This is a date time information, but as we have subtracted, I need the information in the form of whole number. So let me just convert this to whole number, and I'm getting the information. So there is the 6 days of difference between the start of month and the date that is there, right? So let me just go ahead and load this information first, whatever we have done the transformation. Now, once we have done, right, once we do and perform this transformation, after that, you come to this close and apply and use this close and apply. If you want to go back and build some dashboard, if you don't want to do that, you can just click on apply, but at least apply one of the 2 things that is available. If not, it is a big grave mistakes that you will do, and you have to redo that entire steps again. So yeah, keep using that step in between. Let me check the chat box. Okay. Let me check the chat. It depends. It depends. So let's say if you are keeping a space, generally in like dashboards or any place, we don't keep the space. We actually keep a hyphen in between. So we do it like that. We keep a connector between the 2 names, just like that. Just a second, guys. Again, I'm getting one call, so let me just. Sorry, guys. Okay. So we have loaded this information, and all the tables and the transformations that we did is available now for our usage. Let's go back to the now. To go back to the Power Query editor, right? Again, there are two ways we can do. We can always right click on this and go to that edit query. We can use this option, or the best way is like using the transform data option. We can come here and go that. Now, when we load this data, right now, all of the time, we're not required to use this entire information, right? So for an example, let's say instead of this customer name, let me delete this customer name. I don't need this. I will delete this customer name. Let us take something meaningful. So we have a state name. Let's say I have a state, or maybe region. Region is a little common thing. Add as a query, I will do that, and I will remove the duplicate. Remove duplicate. Right now, you have been assigned one particular region to work on. Right now, if you are only looking for one particular region, why do you need to keep the data for all the other regions? Right, so you can filter out the data. So there are two ways you can filter out. One, you can directly ignore it at the time of extracting the information. Second thing, you can extract after you have done all the calculation, or before the transformations out here inside the Power Query. So to do all these things, right, we have something called parameters. We can take the help of the parameter and manage this pretty easily, right? So what is parameter? Parameter is basically a set of instructions, kind of variables that you inform Power Query that, okay, you will be using this at a later point of time. So we'll come click on this manage parameter inside this Power Query editor, and we'll click on new parameter. We'll click on this new parameter. Right, the name of the parameter we will specify as, let's say, region. Right, I don't need to give any description. The type will be the okay, region is already there, so maybe region list. I will give it like this. The type of this is text, because we will be creating a parameter on the basis of region. Suggested values is query. Right, so what we will do, we will take this region and create that with a parameter. Right, so I will convert, I will create this query. I will reference this, right? So this region is now referenced over here, and you'll see what is happening with this. Currently it is, let's say I will say east. Currently it is selected as east out there in this. Okay, we'll close and apply this. So when I close and apply, right, as I mentioned that east over there, my data has been filtered only for east. Now let's say if certain user, you have already built this dashboard, and if you pass on this information to some other people, right, to some other person who is working for a central data, right? So what he can do, he can always come to this transform data, click on edit parameter. If he clicks on this, he will get a list. So from east, he can directly change to central. Click on OK. Now the entire data in the background, right, will be refreshed only for central. So he won't be seeing the east data anymore, right? So when I click on apply changes, the entire data in the background will be replaced with the central. So basically what it's happening in the background, I will show you in the transform data. If I go and look into the region, okay, we did not apply the filter actually. We did a mistake, so I will show you. So with the example that I mentioned, right, what I need to do, I need to first apply a filter in the region. So let's say if I am working for East region, I will only apply the East. I need only the East data, right? So I will use this text filter, right? So I will use this text filter in the region section, and I will say equals, and what it will equal the parameter that we have created, right? So whatever I'm selecting in the region list, it will get filtered accordingly for that. So currently in the filter, I have selected the central region, right? So that's why my data gets sorted by central. I will click on close and apply. Okay, I will explain that Rao, just a second. We click on apply changes. Now, if I go back into the, okay, before going into this transform data, you minimize this window. In this transform data window, we can come to this edit parameter. So currently it is central. Now, if I just click on East, click on OK, and let's say if it is asking me to apply changes, I will do apply changes. You will observe in the background, it automatically changes to East. So if you observe the filter out here, let me go to the region. It has not changed yet. It might be changing. Let me just refresh this. I need to update my Power BI. There is a new update that has been available. So I need to update that also. Okay, you see, this East is automatically getting changed. It is taking the reference from the parameter that we have done. Now, Rahul, you asked the question, right? Like if you have forget to add any table, how you can add it again after going ahead. So the tables are these things, right? The queries that are being loaded. So let's say there is one source file. This is the source, right? Now in this source, if you remember, we had this author's sheet return. We only selected this 3 table, right? So if I just navigate one by one step after this, promoted header, change type and everything, you will be able to get to those things. In this current source information, generally what will happen to you, let me just click on this. These things will get filtered. So currently it is showing you all have been selected, but in your data, when you will do, it will show that, okay, only orders and returns and sheet is selected like this. Sheet 1 and this one will be unselected. It will be showing you like this. Now let's say if you want to include all of them, what you need to do, you need to remove these steps that has been added. So that is a pain point. You need to remove the steps that has been added till this source and re-select this option like this, and then re-perform the steps again, then it will come. Or a better way, just create a new source with the same data. So let's say if I have to connect again to the same Excel, I will connect to the same Excel source again and only bring in the column which was missing and then load that entire thing, because ultimately it will be separately available only, right? Even if you create a new source. Okay, so now let's move on to the next thing, which is the merge queries and append query. Merge query and append query are like the most talked about and most used thing inside the Power Query. It's basically it resembles like a VLOOKUP function. So that's the reason. Now, what is the difference between the merge query and append query? let me show up in an Excel. So we have a data, right? ABC there is one data, ABC is two data, right? No, let me put it something like that. ABC 1, 2, 3, and here I need to bring in that, and let me keep one more data, which is like this. Okay, so now you have two different set of data. This is one data, this section is one data, and this section is one data, right? Now you need to bring 1 to 3 into this one, into this table, right? Now how you can do this with the help of merge query, because we have a common parameter that we can use to connect this two table, which is ABC. ABC is the common parameter which we can use to connect, right? So we will be using this information. You will be using the merge query to do that. I will show you now. And then the other thing is append query. Append query is basically stacking of the data one after another. So this is a separate data. This is a separate data. At the end, what I want my data to look like this. So one data stacked upon another, ABC, like this, right? So if we have to bring in information like this, we can use the append query function. So let me go back to the Power BI and show you. So we have this returns table and this users table, right? Now this users table and the order table can be connected to each other, right? In this users table, we have this region column. We have this region column, right? In this orders table, we have this region table. Where is this region table? Yeah, we have this region table. Now both of them are connected to each other, right? Both of them are matching. So what we can do, we can use this merge query option. I will click on this merge query that is available inside the home section in the right hand side. Merge queries, and let the window to open up. Okay, now we will have to select the two tables that we want to merge. So I want to merge the orders table and the users table out here. So orders table is there at the top, and we will select the users table out here. Now, first thing what we need to do, we need to identify the equal columns in both the tables that we have. So the region is the matching column, right? So region, I will select here, and in this one also, we will create the region column. Now, when I do that, you see it is showing you at the bottom the selection matches for 74 columns. So actually it's showing that it is showing me that all the data is correct. It's matching everything. Now I'm not going into this join kind. If you have used SQL sometime, you would know that, okay, there are different kinds of join, left join, and this merge queries mostly uses the left join functionality, but you can always go ahead and change the different kinds of join that you want to perform. But by default, always it keep that as left outer join. Now, before I click on OK, I just need to explain you one more thing. Sometime, right, like in Excel, when you have to create a unique column, unique value column, right, you try to concatenate two different columns and then create one unique column. So for an example, let's say if you have year, let's say 2021, and maybe some product name is ABC, right? And in this, there is one more product, 2020, and same product, ABC. So to create this unique product combination, what you can do, we can join this plus this, right? So it will throw up an error here in Excel, but ultimately the end result should be 2020 ABC and 2021 ABC, and then we can segregate both of them, correct? So in that case, right, if you have to perform that kind of thing, how you can do, you can just select. So let's say if I want to select region and state, I will click control and select the other column here. This region and state of state or province, you see there is this number 1 and 2 selected out here, right? So that means which one you should select first in the bottom section. So that means region should be selected first and then the state or province. So that's how it is explained here. In this, for this example, I'll just use region over here and I will unselect this. Okay, let me click on the merge query again. Is it coming up? No. So we will select the users table and we will go to the region column. Region, I will select the East. This is, and select OK. Now, once I do that OK, you see it has brought in a new column inside the main table that we had, right? So in the main table, we had this orders, and we have brought in the users column. Actually, I will say users table information inside this users column. Now I don't need the entire thing, right? If I come to this users table, there are two information. One is region and one is manager. So I don't need the region because this is a common field. Region is already available in that column, correct? So what I need is only the manager information. So I will select the manager. I need to bring in the manager information out here, right? So what I need to do, once we have pressed OK, I will come here and click on this icon. It will open up that list, right, in which it will show what are the field available for that. And I will just unselect the things that I don't need. So I will unselect region because I don't need. And I generally unselect this also, use original column name as prefix. The reason why I unselect this is because if I keep it selected, it also shows the name of the table in header and it becomes really big sometimes, right? So here it's mentioning as users.manager. So users is the name of the table and .manager is the field that we are extracting from there. So the name sometimes become big and that's why I don't keep that included. Let me take the questions. I will come to this later out. Okay, so we have brought in the users.manager information. Same way, we have the returns table. We will also do a merge query with the return wherein this is the return status. Now there is this order ID and it is mentioned if the order ID has been returned on or not. So I will click on order and click on merge query. Orders. So what is the matching field? It's the order ID. So I have to look for the order ID out here. Order ID. I will select the matching field and then click on the status. Click on OK out here. And the same way I will bring in the status column. Now in this, you see, you will be getting a lot of null, right? So wherever there is not, the product has been returned, it is mentioned as return. Wherever it is not, it is mentioned as null. So I will refresh, I will replace this null with something called not returned. Null with not returned. Right. So now all my blank data is gone from here. So we have got this return status column also. So yeah, I will keep the transformation till here. And now let's load this data and look into the different visuals that we have available and how we can work with them, because ultimately it's the presentations that you will be doing in front of them, right, with the help of this data. Now, just as a tip, don't waste too much time on doing your data transformation inside the Power Query editor. The reason is most of the things that you do here, right, with experience, you'll come to know you can perform this with the help of DAX and with the help of calculated columns. So don't try to do too much things inside over here. Let me load this, close and apply. No, in the production view, actually, if you have directly SQL query and the tables are optimized, then you can directly connect to that, because that is a different environment actually. And there are different kinds of connections mechanisms. So I will just show you once. Let me load this information first. If I go to this get data option, and if I connect to SQL Server, I'm taking an example of SQL Server, right? Here we have an import and direct query. So this import means, right, you are trying to import the entire thing from SQL to Power BI. So it will be residing locally onto your Power BI file. But if you're using direct query, it is a live connections with SQL. And every time you are making some changes, the data will automatically get reflected. So the best example, best way of using the SQL is using the direct query. So whatever you are making those changes, it will be reflecting over here. And also you can schedule those auto refresh also. Again, so the Power BI will refresh, and accordingly it will again fetch the new data from SQL when it is refreshing that, when we schedule that auto refresh. Okay, so now we have loaded the data. Right now, the most important sections, the visualization with which we all work with, right, is this visualization section. Now here you will see this 3 dot, right, which says get more visual. So if you have not signed in, right, so currently it is showing my name. If you have not signed in over here, then you will not get to see, you will not get to use this particular option. For this, you need to sign in with your organization account. Now, it is nothing like a very fancy available in here. There are some more visuals available which you can use for advanced analytics. But yeah, if you are signed in, it is better that you can utilize those informations. So let's start off with some of the questions that we are trying to find out with the data, and then we will build some visuals on top of that, right? So with any type of data, if there is a sales involvement in that, right, what do we find out? We find out the sales information, sales by city or total sales as an information, right? So what we'll do, we will start off with the table, and just as a again, you like this 3 thing, right, that you see, these 3 things are the most used visual inside the Power BI. So most of the time you will be working with this 3 thing only. Yeah, these things are used to showcase certain thing, but most of the time when you are doing some experiments and everything, you will be utilizing with these 3 informations. So let's start off with this called table. So table is basically simple, a table, nothing fancy with this. And I need to find out the total sales, right? So I have a sales column available inside the orders table. So I just drag and drop this sales over here. Now we are getting the total sales, but does that solve us any answer, right? It's not. So what we need to do, we need to bring in some more field wherein we get the data divided up, right? So I will bring in the state. So I want to see the information as per different state. Now, whenever you search in this search bar, right, be very careful with the information that you are dragging, because you see we have 2 different table and both of them has the same table, same header name, state or province, state or province. So if I sometime drag it from here, there might be a chance that it might throw up an error. You see, all the numbers are showing same because my reference data, the original data where it's stored is the orders data. So be very careful when you're dragging something. So I'll put state over here. And when I do that, you see, it is showing up the data over here. Now this data is not sorted, right? So what I need to do, first thing, I need to sort this information in either ascending or descending order. So sales data is mostly sorted in the descending fashion. So I will use the sort by and then sort by sales. And by default, it gets sorted up in the descending order. Now, if you see here, the list looks a little long, right? I mean, we have a filter available only for East region. That's why it is showing up all the Eastern data. But if I remove the field, then it's a very long list of things that is available. Now, if I have to restrict with information, so I don't want to see the list of all the sales making state in East region. What I can do, I can use the top N function to restrict the data. So in this filter section, what we'll do, we will come and drag this state. Okay, the state is already put in out here, right? Now, first thing, whenever we are doing this top N, you have to ask that question properly. What do you want to find? So I want to find top 10 state, right? Top 10 state by sales, right? So I have to apply the filter on state because that's what I need, the top 10. So I will come to the state or province, click on this drop down, and here it is like default setting that it will select basic filtering. I need to change from this basic filtering to top n, right? Here it is mentioned top, I will say top 10. If I need to see bottom 10, I can change this from here, top to bottom, and it will show me bottom 10. And here it is mentioned by value. So I need to drag the sales inside this value field. So I will drag and put the sales value. And then I will apply filter. As soon as I do that, you see the data is curtailed actually. It has become smaller in nature. Okay. So now my data is showing me the top 10 information. One more thing, here we were working with the filter, right? In the filter section, there are 3 types of filter available, right? So one filter is the view level filter as in this visual that we are making, right? If we want to apply any changes or if we want to apply any filter onto this, it will affect only this particular visual. And that's what we have applied it over here, filters on this visual inside this section. It is this. Now, if you want to perform any filtering on this particular page, so for an example, if you have multiple visuals inside this page and all of them, if you want it to be restricted only to east, right, then I can bring that region into orders region into filters on this page, right? And I can select the east option available from here. If you want something to be available for the entire page, entire dashboard, right, you can bring the thing inside this filter on all pages. So depending on the requirement, you have to do this carefully. And another thing is that, right, this is the though it looks very, very easy, if we do advanced DAX, right, it becomes very, very complicated because most of the DAX functions works with filter. So you need to be a little careful on what kind of filtering you are applying to the data. So yeah, let's is anyone asking anything? Okay. So we did this top 10. Next question, let's find out how many unique customers did we had into the store, right? So again, we'll create a small table. We have the small table and we have the customer ID, right? Okay, now when I have to find the unique customer list, right, unique customer count, we have customer name and customer ID, but we will always go with the ID because ID is the unique field. Customer name can be same, multiple people can have same name, right? But ID will always be different, so always go with the customer ID. So I will using the customer ID out here, and this currently, if you see, is showing me the total number of customer. It is not a unique number, it is showing me the total. So total means if I look at the length, right, if I look into the total count, okay, you see I have dragged in from the combined data, and that's why it is showing this number. Let me drag it from the orders. Okay, it is showing 474 because we have a filter for east applied inside the data. So this is the total count. Now I don't want the total count. How do I understand this if it is a total or a unique? You see here this drop down. If you click in this drop down, it will show you all the aggregate functions that you can perform from here, right? So currently it is selected as count. I will change this from count to count distinct. We will change this to count distinct out here, right? So now the numbers has reduced from 474 to 305. So now with this, we can understand that, okay, this like 305 is the unique customer count for the data for the East region, right? So now we have this customer, right? But let's find out how many customers were in each of the month, right? So we have the month information that we created, month field that we have created, right? So we already have the month name. So I will just drag and drop that. And you see, it will give me the list that, okay, April, let me sort this, or it is already, so no, it's not sorted. So let me sort this out. So April has the highest customer. We got 70 clients and then 67 and so on, right? So you can directly, so these all small things, right, can also be performed with DAX. But try to find the easiest way to solve the problem. Don't always go for the complicated problem. We try to solve one particular scenario, and then we do all the other steps that is available, but there is a single and smaller things that is available to us. Okay, now when we are building this visual, you can always add the title also to this. So we can come to this format section. Now there are 3 sections here. If you have observed this one, wherein we just drag and put these informations. This one is the formatting, where we design, we put colors and all, increase the font size and all those things we do here in the formatting section. And this is the analytics section. So this is not available for all the visuals. It is only available for the top line and some of them in the second line. So this is not available for all of them. So we'll add some title. Let's come to this section, and title is turned off. So I will just enable this title. And I will mention top 10 sales. Okay. If you see, the title has been generated out here, but it is in the left hand side. So I will put this in the center. I will change the alignment to center, and also I will give some color actually. So I will put the background color like this. And here I will change this to white. You can always come here. Now, if you want to put any other kind of character, you can Google it and you can use that color over here, right? So you can get this. I'm not remembering the name. This is known as hash code or something like that in Google for color. So you can use this code from Google and you can paste it and it will change the color format for you. Now, this one, I have added the title. Now, for this one, if I want to utilize the same formatting and everything, what I can do, I can use the format painter option. I select this and apply it over here on this, right? Now, the format has not been changed because we haven't added any title to this. So we will go here and add the title, unique customers. You see, when I do this format painter, the format has automatically been copied over onto this one. Next comes, we have this numbers in forms of like complete number, right? But when we are working with any organization, we will not have the numbers in this format. So the numbers, we have to convert this into millions or billions like that, correct? So what we can do, we can come to this format section and there is something called field formatting. If you come to this field formatting section, so we need to change this format of the sales, right? So I will select the column sales. And then display units is mentioned as none. I will convert this into the millions, right? If I have to put any color, okay, millions is not looking very nice out here. I will convert it to thousands actually. Okay. Now, after the like format change for that number, if you want to do additional change, right? Let's say if I have to change the background color of this number, I want to keep that something like gray, right? You can always do that. If you want to change the font color to black, or let's say, I'm not sure which color to add, red color out here, you can do that steps from here. Now, I'm not sure if this is completely visible to you, but in case like when you are doing some presentation and if you want to increase the font size for these things, you can come to this visualization format section and there is the value section, right? In this value section, you have this text size option. So from 10, if it is not visible to me, I will change this to 12 and it will be more appropriate in nature. Okay. So here again, for this visual also, I will change this to 12 and I will get the data. One more thing here, I personally try to add a border to every visual so that I understand where my visual is starting and ending. So I have a track for that. Okay, now this is one sheet. So let's say I will just create I will change the page name to sales data. In the next page, I have a small data set and it is showing me the customer name. Okay, I have the customer name. It's the simple data. I have a customer name inside this particular page. Now my requirement is, right, whenever I am trying to do a presentation, right? So from this sheet, from this top 10 sales, I want to go into this page one. I want to go into this page one, and let's say this New York is showing 223.9 sales. If I want to just go and filter for New York and see the customers in the next page, right? So what I need to do, I need to use an option called a drill through. So wherein I need to like enable that option, right? Say this customer name, I want to see, and I want to connect this customer name with sales data, right? So I will come to this page and I will select this visual, and then there is this drill through field available. So what I will do, I will put the state as a drill through field. I will put the state as drill through field available out here, right? And when I do that, you see automatically there is this one back button generated, right? I will show you what is this and how it can be utilized. So let's say you are doing a presentation and suddenly you want to see like the New Jersey, right? What are the customers in the New Jersey, or list of customers? This list can be of anything. List can be of product, list can be of faulty product, or anything it can be, but you want to see that. So if you right click on this, then there is an option that has been generated called a drill through, and then it is showing me page one. So now if I go to the page one, it will show me the list of customers, only the New Jersey. And how do you identify that if it is correct? So let me put up the sales number over in front of them. If you match the number 21,943, it's matching with the New Jersey. If I have to, I will again come back to the previous page. I will continue to do presentation. If I have to do, if I have to look for, let's say, Vermont, I will right click on this Vermont and click on this drill through, and it will take me to that sheet again, and it will show me the customer details in the next page. This back button is utilized when this report is published onto the server, or it is hosted into the server. You can click on this and come to the previous page. In the building phase, right? When we are building this dashboard, you have to press Control plus click, Control plus click to come back to the previous page out here. Okay, let's look at the next thing. Next I said is the slicer. Now slicer, why I said is the important thing, because slicer is something which can hold your entire report together, right? So if I put up the product category, so to create a slicer, you have to just select and then put up the information. So product category, I will drag and put up in the field section out here, right? Now in this field section, we have three information: furniture, office supplies, and technology, right? If I select any one of them, entire data gets filtered according to this. If I change technology, entire data gets filtered according to this, right? I can select the multiple options also. But this thing, right, is showing up in a form of list. I don't want to show in the form of list. What I want to do, I want to convert this into a drop down, right? So I can convert, if I click on this icon, that is small icon coming up at the top, right? I can use this drop down selection, and then I can utilize this information from there. Now, why do we use drop down sometimes? Because first thing, like when we are building some heavy dashboard, it looks really nice dashboard, and it gives you like a website kind of view, wherein you have this feature of just clicking and it will open up that window, and again it will be hidden. Secondly, it utilizes less space than the list. So list will be a long list of entire thing. Here it is only 3. Otherwise, the list will be very long sometimes. So we can use this drop down feature, and not drop down, actually it is what is, oh sorry, drop down, yeah, the drop down feature, and it will show you the information out here in this. Now if we have to design this, all right, or let's say before even designing, one thing if you observe, if I click on this functions is known as the checkbox. This box design is known as the checkboxes. right? So checkboxes is enabled for user to select multiple options, right? So you can select multiple options from here. Now, if you have a very big dashboard wherein there are like multiple users using it, and if there is a long list, if multiple options are being selected, it might sometime hang the file. It might crash it. So you can enable the user to select only one option. And how you can do that? You can come to the selection control options inside the format, and in that selection control, you have this single select option, right? You have this single select option. So if you have this a single select enabled, you can now just select one information from here. It will not allow you to select multiple things. You see, it will not allow you to select multiple things. This sometimes helps in keeping your data performance better, because if multiple options are being selected, the file size might get crazy sometime over the server. Page and report level filter. Okay, see, slicer, if I explain in a vague term, it's all same because it is trying to restrict the data, right? But slicer is something with, actually it's the same, right? It's nothing different. But if you observe in another way, right, if I show you some of the functionality, you won't be able to do that with the help of page level filter. For an example, so let's say when you are putting up a page level filter, right? So let's say if I put page level filter, all of the visuals that is available in this page will be filtered according to that. But let's say if I'm building a slicer here, let's say I'm selecting this furniture and I don't want this visual to be getting impacted with this. I want this one to be getting impacted, but this one to not to be impacted. We have an option to restrict that, right? So how we can do that? There is an option called edit interaction. So we'll select the slicer, and in the slicer, when I select, there is this format option opening up. In this format, there is something called edit interaction, right? So this basically means, this edit interaction means how your slicer will be interacting with other visuals that is available on the pages, right? So at the top of both of the visual, you see there is this icons that has been generated. One says none, one says filter, right? So if I select this none, let's say I don't want the filters to be affecting this one. So if I select this as none, right, you will see every time I make these changes, it will not impact this visual. Let's say I change from furniture to technology. You see this numbers are changing, but this one will be fixed. It will be 305 only. Because now I have explained the slicer that don't interact with this one, right? So I will click on this again and enable this filter option again out here. So I will format and close this edit interaction. Okay, let me check the question. Yes, sure, I will be sharing the video. No, at this point of time, search bar kind of functionality is not available here with this format, but definitely, the R&D team of Microsoft, it will be definitely coming up in some time out there. So maybe within a year, it might be available. Yeah, search bar actually is in this one. If you see in this slicer, we can include, in this slicer, we can include a search bar. Now, how we can do that is this three dot that you are seeing at the top, right? There is this search option available. So if I just enable the search option, and if I click on drop down here, you see the search option is coming up. This functionality we can enable. Now, if you have a long list, this is really helpful. So if I'm, instead of product category, if I put a product name, and in that product name, we can get this search option. And if you know the name of the product, you can type in with this. So let's say if I select 3M something, right? So you see the data is getting filtered only for 3M and it will show. So that search function is available. So you can come into this three dot and enable this search function out here. Let me just, okay. change this to product category because this is a long list. Okay. Now, whenever we are designing the slicer, as I mentioned, let me keep it over here. So we can design it much better. So whenever we are having the slicer, generally there are two usages to this. One, we want the slicer to be filtering in all the pages. Second, we want the slicer to be visible in all the pages, dashboards that we have, right? So currently we have built 2 pages, right? So sales data and this page 1. Let me add one more page, actually page 2, because this page 1 we use it for drill through. So I don't want to disturb that. Over here, right? So I want this slicer to be available in both the pages, correct? So how do we do that? With one slicer built, we can apply and we can bring this information in all the pages. So we'll come to this format section. That format, I think it should be view, and we have something called sync slicer. So we have to first select on the slicer, and then we come to this view section and we have this sync slicer option. In the sync slicer option, it will show you all the pages that you have built in the dashboard, and it will ask you like which option you want to perform. Do you want to refresh the data in that page, or you want this to be visible in that page, right? So here I want page 2, right? So I want this data to be refreshed in page 2. Also, I want this to be visible, and you can see the sign over here, right? So this means refresh and this means visibility. So now I have selected both of them. I will also enable this. So everything get cross refreshed. So now when like this filter, if I'm changing anything out here, furniture to technology, it will automatically reflect over here also. Right. So if the user is any particular page, he can navigate this dashboard easily with the help of this sync slicers option. Also, we have one more option in this view section. Let me just show you. In this view section, right, we have something called selection. In this selection pane, right, it gives you an option if you want to hide certain thing or show certain things. So let's say when you are preparing your dashboard, right, you are keeping the slicer, but when you have to publish this dashboard to someone, you don't want the slicers to be visible. You want only the visuals that you have built to be available. So what you can do, you can hide this slicer from the top, from the selection pane. You can just hide it. Once you do that, you see, it is there, the data is there, the visual is still there, but it is not showing up into the dashboard. So when you again rework on this, or you work on the development portion, you can unhide and work on that section again. Okay, so this is about the slicer. Next thing is the card view. Now, card view is not something which is very, very regularly used, but anytime, right? Like, let's say if you have certain things which you want to highlight it to your management, you can utilize this card function. For an example, if your profit, right, your profit has become a very high, or your rate of profit, generally we show a percentage and all those things in this card view. Anything which is very, very good in number, or it has let's say your tickets for any particular issue which was very high, it has reduced now, right? So you want to highlight those kind of things. Your revenue has increased like 50% from previous year, so you want to highlight those kind of number, and for those things you can use the card view. For current scenario, we will use the I will show the profit out here in this card view. Now, the problem with this card view is like you can only show one particular option out here. You cannot show multiple things, right? So this card view takes only one value at one time. Now, what if I have to show multiple things, right? I want to see sales and profit both, right? For that, there is one more thing called multi-row card. So need to create outside and then click on multi-row card. Now in this multi-row card, right, we can select and put multiple things. So let's say if I want to put profit and if I want to put sales, I can put together and see the comparison side by side. You see, we can show it like this. So we have the sales and the profit number side by side available. So you can add multiple things inside the card view. Generally, where is this used card view? We use this at the top. So we will keep it like this: sales, profit. Let's say we have something called discount. So I can use the discount also available, sales, profit, discount, and I will. So anything which is worth informing, we can keep those information at the top and we can highlight it. We can use the year information if we have, let's say if I drag the order date. Okay. One more thing, whenever you are dragging any particular date column, right? Any particular column which is having date informations, right? That information gets broken down. You see this order date and everything out here like this. So in this order date, you have to change this from date hierarchy to the actual order date. Once I do that, it will show up like this, right? So I don't want to show order date. Actually, I want to show the year. So I will just take the year information from the column orders and I will put in over here, year information, order date, like this. So here you see it is showing me a total set. So let me use don't summarize. So it is giving me the option. So this kind of thing you can do with the multi-row card view. You can keep at the top. Now I will cover some of the visuals from the top. Now why I will not covering, because if I cover this one, right, all of the other things are exactly similar to each other. This two lines in the first, right, it is exactly similar to each other. So to understand the one of the thing that is there, and let's see how it can be done. So okay, in this chart, right, the name of the chart is stacked bar chart. Whenever we try to create this, we have this axis, the legend, the values, and tooltips. So tooltips we'll cover later, but always you have to focus on these three things, right? Axis, legend, and the values. So axis is anything where your data gets distributed, your base, right? So let's say I want to see region wise, or let's say not region wise, maybe state wise. State-wise customer, state-wise count of customers. So I will put that in axis, and customer ID I will put in the value section, wherein I will convert this to count distinct. Okay, actually it is not getting filtered. Let me look for a better example. So let me use the sales information only. I think that will be better. Sales with this. So access is something which is getting, which is like distributing your number, right? So this is distributing, the state is distributing my number. The values is the sales field that we have created. And the legend is something, let's say if you want to again segregate the numbers within the New York into multiple options, you can do with the legend. So let's say I want to segregate my data on the basis of product category. I will put that product category inside the legend. And okay, currently it's selected as technology, and that's why it is there in technology. So I will remove the filter. Now, how do I remove the filter again in this slicer? So if I'm using the single select option, it will not give you that, right? What you need to do, you need to come back to the selection control and turn off this. And then you have to select all option that also is there. So now we can clear the selection from here. Now, once I remove the selection, you see, it is distributing the data in the different colors, right? Which is the legend. So this entire bar is the sales value for New York. And then again, it is getting segregated by different product category. Now this looks fine, but I also want to understand the numbers, right? For which section, what is the numbers? So I will come to the format section out here, and we have something called data label. So I will enable the data labels. Once I do that, you see, you are able to see the numbers out here, right? And the title and everything, this is known as the legend. This product category, this is known as the legend. So legend, I will not keep at the top. So we have a section for legend. I want to move this to the top right. Generally, this section is the best place to keep the legend. So I will move it to the top right center. Yeah, this is the best place to keep the legend out here. Now, if you see this space, right, state or province, this space is not utilized. I know, looking at the visuals, I know that, okay, this is the state. So does it really need, or it's necessary to show that, okay, this is the state? No, right? I don't need to look into the state to understand this is the state. I know by name. Same thing to do with the sales. I don't need to show this particular axis. So what we can do, we can turn off those things and we can utilize the space to show it in a much wider frame. So here in this x-axis and y-axis, you will get that option of axis title. There is something called axis title. So axis title has been turned on. Let me see if it's turned off. This title, right? I will turn off this. You see, the state has been gone and the diagram, the graph has become little wider. Same thing I will do for x-axis. I will turn off the x-axis, not x-axis. I will turn off the title, right? So when I do that, you see the space has become much wider inside this. And for the visuals, the title has automatically been generated. So I will just come to this title and make this. We can copy the format. We can copy this format from here, from this visual, and apply it onto this visual. So let me copy this and apply into this section out here. So this is how you start building the visuals out here. Let me here, and again in this filters, I can restrict the state to the top 10 state. I don't need to see the entire thing. So I will just look at the top 5 state, actually, not the entire thing. Okay. Top 5 state, and I will drag it out here, this one. Okay, so this is how you start off with the visuals. So I will just keep it till here because I need to again rush outside somewhere. So what I need I will be sending out the recordings with this, and I will also be sending out the data with this and the Excel, this PPT file, sorry, the Power BI file with this. Just go through that file and try to explore the other visuals that we have, so that tomorrow, if you have any questions, we can discuss that in the beginning, and then we can start off with the DAX thing, which will be really interesting for you if you haven't used the DAX function, because we will be understanding some of the key concept of filter and how each of the things is affecting each other, and hopefully it will clear some of your doubts again. So if you haven't shared your email ID, please let me know your email ID also, and I will be sending out the recording to everyone. Cool. So everyone stay safe, stay at home actually, and take care of yourself. It's a really difficult time, and I will connect with you again tomorrow. So let me just copy the email IDs. Let me just open up a notepad so that I can send the recording to everyone. Thank you, Yasmin. Yes, I will be sending out this data set to everyone. So please go through the recording. If you have any question, please come back with the question. And if you feel that, okay, certain sections can be explained a little better, please let me know that section which you want to understand again, and I will be happy to explain that again to you. Yes, there is a But yeah, we'll come onto those things later actually, because I just wanted to provide information to the people, right, who really want to learn and start off with everything. And just one thing, like as I see, like many people have issue with the DAX, right? So if any of your friend want to join in for the DAX session, so tomorrow maybe it might get extended for like more than 2 hours, right? Because it will be DAX session and I want to give that complete information. So if you feel any of your friend will really need that, please get them along with that. Just share that link. You will be using the same link to join in tomorrow also. So just bring them along. Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice day. We'll again connect tomorrow at the same time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amit.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You missed my name.